You wake up out of bed one day to find out that the entire town around you is suddenly overtaken by a mass delusion. People all around you are marauding animals straight from a horror movie. The townsfolk around you ravage through the streets, believing they've been transformed into werewolves, demons, and witches. But it's the truth behind this strange mystery that's far more disturbing. First, let's go back to the beginning. On a sweltering summer day in the early 1950s, the picturesque French town of Pont-Saint-Esprit, nestled in the southern region of the country, was bustling with its usual serene and busy atmosphere. The town, steeped in a rich history dating back to the 1700s, had no idea that it was about to be plunged into a horrifying chapter, one that would make it infamous for decades, if not more, to come. August 15th, 1951 dawned like any other day, with residents of Pont-Saint-Esprit going about their daily routines, blissfully unaware of the terror that awaited them. And as the sun began to set, the once tranquil town transformed into a chilling scene that could have been ripped straight from the pages of a Stephen King novel. A mysterious and seemingly contagious affliction swept through the town like wildfire, causing hundreds of people to succumb to a state of madness. The once peaceful streets were now filled with frenzied townfolk, howling and growling like wild beasts, causing destruction and chaos wherever they had roamed. Even more terrifying were the reports with some residents who claimed to have witnessed their neighbors and friends transforming into ghastly creatures of the night like werewolves, gargoyles, demons, and witches, etc. And in the end, the bizarre outbreak affected roughly 260 people, leaving 7 dead and more than 4 dozen others so psychologically traumatized that they were temporarily held in local asylums for their safety and the safety of others. Now, to this day, these strange events that unfolded in Pont-Saint-Esprit remain one of the most chilling unsolved mysteries in our modern history. Now, what could have caused this terrifying and seemingly inexplicable mass hysteria? Was it the result of some unknown contagion, possibly a government experiment, or something far more sinister lurking in the shadows of this once peaceful and uninterrupted town? Now, until answers are found, the haunting memory of that day continues to cast its eerie shadow over this small village as a dark reminder of the terror that once gripped its residents. However, there is an official explanation for this bizarre and terrifying event. It points to a specific fungus known as ergot, which has a tendency to infect rye. Now, this fungus isn't just your average garden variety mold. It has some truly dark effects on those who consume the infected rye. As the late werewolf and shapeshifter expert Linda Godfrey explained in her 2006 book, Hunting the American Werewolf, ergot is actually believed to have been the cause that took these people. Now, ergot, but specifically the Claviceps purpurea strain, contains a compound that's actually very similar to that of LSD. Now, when ingested, it can provoke some seriously horrifying and really vivid hallucinations. Now, this led Godfrey to think and suggest that it wasn't necessarily a military op or even demonic possession, but actually the ingestion of a mind-altering fungus that would result in the disturbing behavior and subsequent executions of many individuals accused of actually being witches, werewolves, and vampires. Oh my. Now, it is a compelling theory for sure, but it does leave us with a lingering question. But what if? In fact, a key investigator of the late H.P. Albarelli Jr. had authored a massive book titled A Terrible Mistake. Now, this book was an 826-page exploration of the death of a brilliant chemist by the name of Frank Olson. And in the early 1950s, Olson actually worked for the U.S. Army's Special Operations Division at Camp Detrick, now known as Fort Detrick, a hub for military research on chemical and biological warfare, as well as deadly viruses. Now, it was during this time that Camp Detrick was deeply involved in mind control and Manchurian candidate experiments, with Olson playing a crucial role. Gee, maybe the government really did have a part to play. Now, tragically, his work and life were cut short when he perished on November 28, 1953, after supposedly falling from the 10th floor of the Statler Hotel in Manhattan. Funny how that happens, just coincidentally. Now, the prevailing theory suggests that Olsen, regretting his involvement in these extremely controversial experiments, was thrown from the window by agents who feared that he would expose the extent of their mind-altering experiments in the name of, national security. Because in 1950 and 51, Frank Olsen, remember, a key figure in mind control experiments, had found himself at the heart of a chilling event. While collaborating with French intelligence, Olsen actually traveled to France in both 50 and 51, the latter being the year that the quaint town of Pont-Saint-Esprit had descended into chaos, almost as if they were experimenting something on a small town. Imagine that. Now, as Aberelli Jr. detailed in his book, the French, just like the Americans, the Russians, and the British, were all extremely eager to test and get their hands on fully operational clandestine mind control and manipulation. Now, it's quite significant that Olsen's name appears in previously highly classified CIA documents relating to the events at Pont-Saint-Esprit. You don't say. One such document unearthed through the U.S. Freedom of Information Act reads this: Pont-Saint-Esprit and F. Olsen files. SO-SPAN/France operation file including Olsen. Intel files. Hand carried to Berlin. Tell him to see it that these are buried. Though the language is cryptic and cautious, it unmistakably links Olsen to Pont-Saint-Esprit, emphasizing the need to keep the truth of these bizarre occurrences concealed at all costs. Now, what the heck is going on there? It even suggests that Frank Olsen's life may have been one of those costs. Now, Aberelli Jr. actually claims that these shadowy figures had deliberately targeted Pont-Saint-Esprit to test the limits of large-scale mind manipulation, choosing August 15th, 1951 as the day to launch their twisted and sick experiment. Now, of course, theories do range from a potent psychedelic contaminating the town's water supply to a generous dose of LSD administered in a similar manner, or even an airborne aerosol deployed to envelop the town in a crop dusting style operation. Now, as this case does sit there on its own as a conspiracy, France isn't a stranger to strange creatures roaming the countryside, as well as Germany and a lot of the UK. Consider this old tale from 1879. Karl Barth wrote about a region near Kleinkrams and Ludwigslust, Germany, where vast woods teemed with game. Dukes would actually often travel here to hold their grand hunts, and during these events, the hunters would almost always encounter an elusive wolf. Despite coming within shooting distance, this wolf could never be killed by a huntsman, and astonishingly, the wolf would even snatch game in plain sight and carry it into the village. On one peculiar occasion, a hussar from Ludwigslust ventured to the village to meet a man named Feig. As Barsch recounted, upon arriving at Feig's home, the hussar experienced something entirely unexpected. Upon entering the house, the hussar was met with a cacophony of frightened children rushing out into the yard, and when questioned about their frenzied behavior, they all revealed that except for a young boy, no one from the Feig family was at the home. The children claimed that the boy had the uncanny ability to transform into a werewolf when left alone, and they feared he would eat them if they stayed. So not long after, the so-called wolf boy appeared, now back in human form. The hussar, bewildered by the strange happenings, demanded an explanation from the child. Hesitant at first, the boy eventually divulged a secret. His grandmother possessed a magical strap that, when worn, would turn him into a wolf. Curious, the hussar kindly requested a demonstration of the boy's transformation. The boy agreed, but only if the hussar would first climb into the loft to ensure his safety. Reluctantly, the hussar ascended the ladder, making sure to pull it up from behind. Now, according to Barsch, the boy's transformation into a fearsome creature unfolded rapidly. The hussar watched, astonished, as the young wolf chased away onlookers before returning to human form. Now, despite inspecting the magical belt, the hussar could find nothing unusual about it. Disturbed by the encounter, the hussar sought out a local forester who was known to participate in the great hunts near Kleinkrams. Now, upon hearing the hussar's story, the forester immediately thought of the elusive werewolf that had long evaded capture. Believing he could finally end the werewolf's reign, the forester prepared a silver bullet for his next hunt. Now, as the hunt began, the forester shared his plan with his fellow hunters, who watched with concern as he loaded his rifle with silver bullets. Now, it wasn't long before the infamous wolf appeared, seemingly invulnerable to the hail of onslaught of ammo. And as the creature approached the forester, however, it was struck down by this silver round, one silver round, mind you. Though the wolf was visibly wounded, it managed to rise again and flee towards the village. The hunters pursued the creature, but it outran them, vanishing within Feig's farmyard. In this crazy, unexpected turn of events, the werewolf the forester had slain was not the young Feig boy, as one might have assumed. Barsh revealed the shocking truth. The werewolf discovered in grandmother's bed was none other than Feig's grandmother herself. In her pain, she had forgotten to remove the strap, exposing her secret identity. In another bizarre case of werewolves, F. Asmus and O. Coop reported that in 1898 that by using a wolf strap, almost anyone could transform themselves into a werewolf. However, if someone called the werewolf by their human name, they would revert to their human form. As for the wolf strap, it was said that it was a gift from the devil. The authors explained that once someone accepted a wolf strap, they couldn't rid themselves of it and had essentially sold their soul to the devil for demonic and shape-shifting power. While real wolves were feared, werewolves were even far more terrifying. Unlike real wolves that could be killed or trapped, werewolves were impervious to regular bullets and clever trappings. Now, according to authors, transforming into a werewolf was not without purpose. When food was scarce, one could simply fasten the wolf strap, hunt for prey like a fat sheep, and bring it home without suspicion. Now, alternatively, a werewolf might ambush a traveler carrying money, seizing their valuables, and making a swift getaway. Asmus and Coop recounted a time when horses and colts were sent to community pastures overnight, guarded by two herdsmen who took turns keeping watch. Now, the reason for such vigilance was the fear that werewolves would prey on the animals. And on one fateful night, as the herdsmen watched over the horses, a chilling incident unfolded. It was rumored that one of the herdsmen possessed a wolf strap, and as they grew tired and pretended to sleep, the first herdsman kept a watchful eye on his companion, believing the other to be asleep. The man with the wolf strap quickly transformed into a werewolf and went on the hunt. The first herdsman witnessed the horrifying scene as his companion attacked and devoured a colt alive. Returning to his human form, the werewolf herdsman lay down to rest, and in the morning he awoke, writhing in pain and groaning loudly, his companion asking him what was wrong. As the mystery of the werewolf herdsman continued to unfold, he admitted to suffering a terrible stomach ache. And the first herdsman remarked, even the devil would have a stomach ache after devouring an entire colt at once. Now, the werewolf pleaded for his identity to be kept a secret, and for a long time it did remain hidden. However, the truth eventually came to light, and the tale was passed down after both men had eventually passed away years and years later. Or maybe at some point or another, he had actually used the wolf belt, turned into a werewolf, and had gotten himself into a fridge full of old Sbarro. I mean, that would kill just about anyone. And through a combination of science, myths, legends, psychedelics, intelligence agencies, and genuine monstrous creatures, all these horrifying things have been brought to life in our collective consciousness. Now, as time goes on, stories and mysteries will continue to captivate us, ensuring that these tales will never end. Now, just for a quick moment, let's rewind and go back to Pont-Saint-Esprit. Now, is it true that the town was truly used as the grounds for government and military psyops and experimentation? Perhaps. Is it also possible that ergot had infected the rye and everyone thought they were werewolves? Perhaps. And as we discussed a few, it seems like all of Western Europe during the Middle Ages and even into the 16th, 17th, and 1800s were no strangers to tales of vampires, ghosts, angry spirits, and yes, even werewolves. Although I highly doubt that 260 plus people in the village that day were all wearing their werewolf belts, it is certainly a strange occurrence. But more importantly, I want to know what you guys think. Was the village a military psyops cover-up, which is why they took Frank and threw him out over the 10-story window? Or was there truly a supernatural force at work? Or was this simply just a case of infected rye? Let me know what you think down in the comments below. I would love to hear from all of you. And if you guys enjoyed this video, be sure to go ahead and slap that big old red like and subscribe button for more content and storytelling of the mysterious and supernatural. As always, I love you all. Keep an open mind, and I'll see you guys in the very next video.